Every major sport gives a trophy to their championship team. The NFL has the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Every season, Major League Baseball awards their champions with the Commissioner's Trophy. Hi, my name is John Castiglione, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the Stanley Cup Championship. The Stanley Cup is given to the champions of the National Hockey League each year and is passed on to the following team. It's not a new trophy, so you can imagine there is definitely some history with the cup. Let's start with the early days. According to an article on History.com, Lord Stanley of Preston became a hockey fan while watching a game in 1889 at the Montreal Winter Fair. In 1893, Lord Stanley, citing the need for a trophy to be given to Canada's best hockey team, purchased a silver bowl for $50 that would be awarded to the winner of the Amateur Hockey Association of Canada the first year. The cup was originally called the Dominion Hockey Challenge Cup, and it wasn't intended to be awarded to just one team in one league. It was meant to be a floating award, kind of like a World Heavyweight Championship belt in a boxing, given to what was considered the best team in Canada. So now that we know how the cup came into existence, let's talk about when the cup turned professional. In 1947, the National Hockey League came into an agreement with the Cup trustees to purchase the Stanley Cup and award it to their winner. Since that time, the Stanley Cup has been awarded to the NHL champion every year except the lockout year of 2005. In 1963, the original cup was retired and a replica has been used ever since. This is a picture of the original Stanley Cup. The bowl's right there. This is in the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto. This is the original bowl right there. The Montreal Canadiens have won 23 Stanley Cups, but have not won one since 1993. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they have the second most championships with 13, but they haven't won one since 1967. The Detroit Red Wings have won the most championships for a United States-based team with 11. The Stanley Cup has been referred to as the hardest championship in all of pro sports to win. So, what happens with the cup after a team wins it? After the Stanley Cup Championship is awarded, each player and most of the front office staff of the winning team gets to spend 24 hours alone with the cup to do whatever they want with it. They can also take it anywhere they want. That being said, you can sort of understand there have been some bloopers with hockey's greatest prize. Time.com did a story on some of the best incidents, some of the best bloopers that happened with the Stanley Cup, and let's start with what is considered the most famous. In 1924, after winning the cup, the Montreal Canadiens bus got a flat tire. As they were changing the flat tire, they put the cup on the side of the road. After they fixed the flat tire, they forgot that they put the cup on the road. They drove off without it. When they finally realized that, they drove back. This was after a few hours. They drove back, and surprisingly, the Stanley Cup was right where they left it. The New York Rangers won the cup in 1994, and their captain Mark Messier was pretty well known to frequent strip clubs in the New York City area. So with his 24 hours, Messier took the cup to Scores Strip Club. It's believed to be the first time hockey's holy grail was ever in a strip club. A story that is close to my heart happened when the Pittsburgh Penguins won their first cup in 1991. Captain Mario Lemieux had a huge party during his 24 hours with the cup, invited family, friends, also other teammates over. The Stanley Cup ended up in the bottom of Mario's pool. Bloopers aside, one of the most unique things about the cup is that the players' names get engraved on it after they have won. According to the Hockey Hall of Fame, there are 2,267 names engraved on the cup. There have also been a bunch of different mistakes in the engraving. The Boston Bruins and the New York Islanders both famously had their names misspelled on the cup. This is how they were actually spelled on the Stanley Cup. The Bruins happened in 1971 and the Islanders happened in 1980. The Stanley Cup is such an iconic trophy that fans sometimes will create their own to root for their team during the Stanley Cup Championships. It's not uncommon if you watch a Stanley Cup playoff game to see homemade cups in arenas during the playoffs. In fact, this, and I'm very proud of this too, this right here is the Stanley Cup that I made out of coffee cans during the Penguins Championship run of 2009. It's still pretty beat up, but that's what I made for the Cup run in 2009. And like I said, you'll see, if you ever watch a Stanley Cup playoffs, you'll see people will have their own type of versions of Stanley Cups that they will take to the playoff games. The Stanley Cup has more history than any other trophy in pro sports and has been in more bars than most people. I was lucky enough to spend a few hours with it alone, in 2010 after the Penguins won it. They had brought it to our local minor league hockey team, and they had brought it up to where I was. So I got to spend some time with it in 2010, and just the history of it was amazing. It weighs 35 pounds, so it's not light when the players lift it up over their head. It's not light. But I definitely recommend that if you're a hockey fan, if you're a sports fan, if you're just a history fan, if you do get some time to check out the cup, if it's in your local area, if you get time just to look at the names engraved on it, I definitely recommend you do it. It's a very, very, very historic and iconic trophy.